Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Shishir Basu from the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Today we are going to talk on the module. It is titled as An Introduction to the Theory of Representation, and this is under the paper called Women, Media and Films. This is the first module in this unit. It is also the first module of this course on women, media and films. I am sure by this time, through the help of other courses, you now can locate the problem of gender in Indian society. You are also able to analyze some of the problems the women in our society encounter almost regularly at work, at home, and places around us, around in the society. In this course, we will focus on the relationship between women and media. We shall focus on how women are represented and portrayed in Indian films. We are focusing on film separately, as film as a branch of media played a vital role in representing women and their issues more than any other media. After going through this module, you should be able to describe what representation is, establish the relationship between culture and women and how these are contextualized, explain the process of representation, explain the theories of representation, and thereby describe the important concepts related to representation. Describe also the concept of stereotype, suggest the ways of fighting stereotypes, and at the end analyze how media as a turf of the ruling elite in the society decides how women should be represented. Now let us start. As said in the title earlier, that this is the first module of the first unit in this course. You have learned a lot from the modules of the previous courses. In this course named as Women, Media and Film, we shall be discussing broadly how media as a vital institution of the modern society mirrors the issues of various constituents of our society to the public. The role of media in the modern world has been praiseworthy so far. It has broadly helped the citizens of various countries to be aware of the shortcomings of the ruling systems in vogue, made the people conscious about the injustice and exploitations done to the poor and the vulnerable by the powerful and rich in the society. The media did help the native citizens to fight against the colonial rule and exploitation done by the foreign powers. However, as we progressed further into the 20th century, the media became more of an industry rather than a social institution in the service of the people. Profit has become the primary motivation, and commercial conglomerates took over the administration and influence the running of the media institution. They have captured the economics of the media houses, particularly through advertising and sponsorship. The focus of media has changed fundamentally. In most cases, it has become a tool in the hands of the rich and the powerful in our society. In this course, we shall be focusing on how media and film represent women and issues related to women in various platforms. The course has the following 7 units: representation of women in media, media and culture, status of working women in media, new media, women and employment, women issues, film structure and censorship, forms of cinema and portrayal of women, professionalism and women in film business. After having discussed on the concepts of representation and stereotyping and theories related to these concepts, we shall proceed on to have an understanding on how media highlights or suppresses the real issues with regard to women. We will have a focused discussion on stereotyping and how one needs to fight, particularly the women, against these stereotypings. In the next module, we shall focus on how media represents the women in the minority community, religious and ethnic groups. We shall then focus on the issues of representation of girl child. In this section, now, fundamental concepts of representation, we will discuss the definition of representation. We shall delineate the various perspectives of representation. We will also establish the importance of representation as a fundamental process of creating and sustaining culture in a particular society. Now, what is representation? Representation is a primary element in a cultural process to produce and share meaning among the members. It is a process by which the members of a culture communicate to each other by expressing their messages through language, signs, and symbol. We are saying that this exchange or sharing of meaning happens within a geographical location which is inhabited by people who share common language, habits, signs, and symbols, in short, sharing common culture. Representation, therefore, follows a process of producing and sharing meaning by using language, signs, and symbols. Representation is depiction. It is an image creation, and it makes many things to stand for something that is inert or abstract. Now we shall talk about the process of representation. Representation is achieved by following certain ways or certain logical steps. Take the example of a photograph. A photograph is a representation. It is a depiction of an event or a person or a thing. When a photograph is framed, a photographer decides to include certain things within the frame and leave out many things surrounding what is in the frame. So, the photograph is only a part and not the whole incident or the whole surrounding or the entire thing. The decision of the photographer to include certain things and exclude many is what makes a photograph. A photographer's decision mediates or works how the incident or the person or the thing should be represented. So, incident and surrounding or a person is mediated by a photographer, and his decision to include and exclude and his subjectivity which comes in creates a photograph. Therefore, all that we see around us is mediated. The photographs, TV programs, films, news reports, all are created through mediation or involving subjectivity. This is the process of representation. In his Circuit of Culture, Stuart Hall says that it is representation that is at the core of our culture, creating identity, producing the cultural artifacts, promoting consumption of the same, and regulate the cultural flows. There also he mentions the representation follows the process of mediation. The question may arise about the nature of this mediation. Mediation is the ideology, the outlook of a person that governs all that he does and lives for. Ideology is the philosophy and belief system of a person. This is what goads us to take photographs in certain ways and not in other ways, write what we write, speak whatever we speak, and the manner in which we speak. Therefore, ideology resides at the core of representation. Through representation, ideology creates the reality, this reality can be safely assumed as constructed. By the way, did you know that Stuart Hall was born in Jamaica, West Indies? He was a Rhodes Scholar and studied English at the Oxford University in 1951. He coined the term Thatcherism. Persons, therefore, with different ideologies will create different representations. We are in the business of creating reality or truth through representation. It can therefore be said that there can be many truths or versions of truth of one incident or a person or a thing. Among all these many versions of truth, one that would be accepted by a majority of the consumers through their interpretation will be accepted as the truth. This accepted truth, after a period of time, may be rejected and a new version may be put up as acceptable. The reality or the truth is created or constructed at a time within a certain socio-cultural milieu. The time period, together with the socio-cultural backdrop, is called the regime of truth or regime of representation. Let us summarize now whatever we have learned so far. Representation is constructed or created as per the ideology of the creator. Different ideology will create different versions of a particular reality. These truth or reality are created at a certain period of time in a specific socio-cultural milieu. This period is called the regime of truth. As the time moves and socio-cultural environment undergoes changes, the new reality is created different from the previous ones. Representation creates truth, and this truth is not eternal. It is of and remains on earth. Now we are going to discuss about context and cultural representation. In the previous section, we have mentioned that culture remains within a physical boundary among the residents. Raymond Williams has said that culture is basically the material practices of a group of people. The material practices are only the manifestations of what goes on in our head. Therefore, culture operates at two levels: psychological, that is in mind, and material, that is in the matter that is surrounding us. The interpretation of symbols and signs do happen in our head. The interpretation may vary as the meaning is made by the individuals. But as stated earlier, that the people are broadly governed by the common orientations, rule, regulations, and acceptable norms and behaviors. Therefore, the context is the environment within a boundary that is both physical as well as mental. As context changes, meaning and physical expressions also change. Culture changes and evolves because it is dependent on the participants, and participants also change and evolve. And at every regime of representation, new meanings are sought to make sense of the surroundings. Culture is related to representation. Representation, therefore, is for meaning creation. This meaning creation through representations happens at different sites. As referred earlier in the Circuit of Culture by Stuart Hall, the cultural sites are multiple and representation process is a complex one. At each of these sites, like in his Circuit of Culture, he has mentioned consumption as a site, regulation as a site, representation as a site, identity as a site, and production of representation as a site. So therefore, culture is guided by mental frame of the producers as well as the socio-cultural norms. Same with consumption, regulation, representations, and the identity that one possesses. Though representation seems to be simple, a straightforward thing, in reality, it is not so. It is indeed layered and complex. Keep in mind this aspect as we are discussing women, media, and film in this course. There are multiple layers behind what we see or encounter about the image of women in films and how they are portrayed in media. These media images are deliberate, subjective, and intentional. We are now going to talk about media and representation. Walter Lippmann, in 1921, while commenting on the working of media, said that the world around us is too complex, fleeting, and vast. It is rather impossible for humans to grasp the whole environment and make sense of this ever-changing, fleeting world. Hence, media steps in, takes snatches of relevant images of the world, and create a simplified version for the consumption of the ordinary beings. Media has been and is doing the same even now. But it constructs these simplified version of the ever-fleeting world as per its own ideology. Hence, the world is artificial, constructed, and only a version of reality. The images that media creates are the representations of the reality. Therefore, all versions of reality and versions of truth are partial truth and not the whole truth. Therefore, all that we get in media are the construction of reality within a cultural environment. We imagine these versions as real, and that is what governs our values, our culture, and our ideology. It may sound negative a little bit. However, this is how the representations in media work in a socio-cultural milieu. Now let us discuss some of the theories of representation. So far in this module, we have had discussions about the definitions of representation, the process of representation, culture and context, the creation of meaning in a context, the media and its role in representing the representation, and artificially or subjectivity involved in a representation. Now, in this section, we shall discuss various theoretical frameworks propounded by many theorists so that we have a full understanding of the complexities of the representations. Now, before that, let us discuss about various approaches of representation. The theoretical frameworks that we are to discuss have various approaches to understand the working of representation. These are being enumerated and discussed here. One is relative approach. Language in cultural environment represents many aspects creating meaning. Language expresses the feeling and the message of a person. It is like a mirror which reflects whatever is shown in it. The representation, particularly in language, reflects this reality of the perceiver or the messenger. There may be some dispute, and this approach if the language means various things at the same time, such as a flower having different names in a particular cultural boundary. The other one is intentional approach. Language is a shared and common code that is used in a culture. The meaning is also commonly understood. The language should, in general, reflect the commonly understood message or meaning. However, if someone intends to use the same common code to mean different things, then there is a problem. Intentional approach is what meaning the author intends to convey. The meanings and the codes are commonly shared. This cannot have a private meaning or a private usage. constructionist approach, we know and understand that language is a common property in a shared culture. It creates the understanding and bond among the individuals within a cultural boundary. With these language and codes, we construct representation to convey meanings for others. The language, with its symbolic characteristics, conveys our concepts. The language is understood by all as it is common, and hence the construction of the individuals taking the properties of language is also understood by all living in that cultural context. The language is governed by signs and codes. This means the language follows commonly understood rules and symbols and what these stand for. Hence, the constructions of representation can also be deciphered for meaning by applying these commonly understood rules, signs, and codes. Now, Ferdinand de Saussure is referred to whenever we discuss about language and representation. He was a Swiss and a well-known linguistic. Saussure has given the theory of sign. This theory concentrates on the use of sign, signifier, and signified in a language to create meaning. A sign is a combination of two elements, signifier and signified. When signs are put in a context according to some rules, what we get is called signifier, such as cow. But when we read the word cow, it is not cow, but the image of the cow that is in our head and gets triggered. The image of the cow in our head is called signified. The signifier and signified put together with certain rules create language, which through the process of representation produce meaning. All his thoughts were collected and put together by his student as Course in General Linguistics in 1960. Ferdinand de Saussure particularly, while talking about the underlying rules of language, mentioned about long, the rules or the system, and the utterances as parole. This is how the language is structured to produce meaning. Now we have another theorist, Claude Lévi-Strauss. Claude Lévi-Strauss was a cultural anthropologist studying customs, myths in culture, designs and meaning in culture. He came up with the concept of binary opposites. Say for instance, word cold could be meaningful when we have the concept of hot. So what is not cold is understood as what is hot. He also analyzed the material science such as clothes. Basically, clothes are to cover the bodies, but it has other functions also. It signifies the elegance, fashion, times for a dress, etc. Therefore, in representation, we need to consider these binary opposites. We need to understand the signified could be signifiers having a deeper meaning or other signifieds. The other theorist is Ronald Barthes. Following the thesis of Saussure and Lévi-Strauss, Ronald Barthes has taken further the argument and theorization of representation. Ronald Barthes analyzed representation at two levels, signifier and signified. The first aspect, that is analysis at the signifiers level, he called it as denotation. The things or the materials that are seen, have shapes, colors, etc. are the elements of denotation. For instance, by analyzing the shape, we can distinguish a coat from a shirt. The other level is connotation level, the level of analysis and answers questions like what is signified, what is the real meaning. The dress is for casual wearing or for formal occasion or for state reception, etc. Therefore, a representation can be analyzed at denotation as well as connotation level. Taking further this concept in Mythologies is a book by Barth. Barth emphasized that representation works more at the second level, that is, at connotational level or cultural level. We need to question the representations with relentless question of why, till we satisfactorily decipher the full meaning of the representation. In his article, Myth Today, he describes with examples how in modern times many myths are constructed through representation to foreground individuals' point of view on various issues in society. Jacques Derrida, another French philosopher, said that search for meaning is an unending process. He termed this process of searching meaning as circle of meaning, meaning of meaning of meaning. The final meaning is thus put off forever. The next theorist is Michel Foucault or Michael Foucault. Michel Foucault was interested more on how representations develop a discourse for creating knowledge. Discourse is a process by which arguments and counter-arguments create knowledge. He emphasized that ultimate goal of representation is to create knowledge, and knowledge creates power through discourses. He said all cultural practices, that is representations, have discursive elements which lead to knowledge. We have had a discussion with regard to the historicity of this knowledge formation. The discourse happens within a historical time frame in a context. This he termed as regime of truth. For him, truth is created. It is of this world. There is an end of all this regime of truth and is followed by a new regime of truth. He was also very straightforward about the center of power. He said that at each layer in the society, power resides. It does not percolate from top to bottom. It is more lateral than vertical. It exists in localized circuits. Foucault also discusses an issue called subject in representation. The character, the issue, and the visual in a representation is a subject in itself. It is something which is discussed about. The beholder, the reader, the viewer is another subject who gives meaning or interprets what the meaning of the subject is. Therefore, the reader, the viewer, the beholder becomes part and parcel of representation. And the presenter who presents the representation is also a subject, as he or she creates the construction or the representation. Another person who talked about representation is Jean-François Lyotard. He was a French postmodernist. He has talked about representation as a truth creation mechanism. He proposed that such truth created or constructed by representation should be deconstructed to get to the underlying ideas, and these dominant ideas, once discovered through reconstruction, should be challenged. Only then the reality and the veracity of the truth can be established. Jean Baudrillard, a French philosopher, who in his book Simulacra and Simulation stated about modern day representations. By simulacra, he meant that these are copies or depiction of those material that have no originals or have never had any original. In other words, these are constructed fakes. He said that the current time is full of symbols and signs. Simulacra is devoid of any kind of originality. He further explains that all human beings and experiences have been replaced with simulation such as we find in virtual world. He pointed out that media and current cultural trends have constructed such a false and an unreal environment. He has also termed the situation as hyper reality, a reality not made up of original things but of imitations. Now let us move to another concept which is frequently used, is called the other. The dominant power working within a culture would like to keep the society or culture stable by resorting to the mechanism of type. One is social type, those who belong to the society, and stereotype, those who do not belong to the social type. They are considered outsiders or outside the society. They remain in the periphery. They are considered to be the other. The dominant power plays with the differences that they construct within a given culture. The sharp demarcation excludes the non-social type from belonging to the cultural society. The difference comes out very clearly as it follows the binary values like right or wrong, black or white, hot or cold. The other is to be created in order to bring meaning to the representation. We must keep in mind that the meaning is always relational. The dominant culture, while creating an exclusive and a pure type, had to further tighten the division so that the difference becomes permanent. Say, for instance, the black people have been excluded and put under the category of other, first as a cultural group, but later it was presented as natural. There, the cultural difference was naturalized and hence not changeable. The blacks remained permanently primitive, beastly, and uncivilized, and many more negative attributes were attributed to them. This is what we call stereotyping. Stereotyping means reducing the complex traits into a few simple characteristics which are projected as natural and hence to be permanent. The others remain others forever through stereotyping. For example, the Muslims in many Indian films are portrayed as having a meat shop, wearing a lungi, a banyan, and having a skull cap. The blacks in North American context is portrayed as lazy, beastly, shabbily dressed, drunk, etc. What happens is that these negative attributes are repeated over a period of time till these are believed to be natural by the audience at large. Stereotyping plays with power. The dominant group, through the exclusive mechanism, makes the other powerless. The representations continuously, by portraying the stereotypes, bring in the so-called stability in a society and cements permanently the gross inequality among the dominant and the others. In the Indian context, there is stereotyping with regard to women, girl child, people belonging to low castes, minorities belonging to various religious groups have created permanent others. The society now considers these as natural and therefore permanent. A society then is sliced into innumerable exclusive zones and is riddled with permanent differences. Now, how to fight these stereotypes? Is there any possibility to fight this stereotyping? There have been many attempts in various societies to fight this stereotyping. The following are some of the ways that have been successful in denting the stereotyping. One is transcoding. As discussed earlier, that meanings are not permanent, we have found that the regime of truth through representations creates meaning within a historical time. Therefore, in a new regime of truth, new meanings can be created and established. In the past, new meanings have been created by appropriating the old ones, such as black is beautiful and black is gold. This is called transcoding. Now, the other way of fighting the stereotyping is revenge image or revenge films. In many films in North America, blacks were portrayed like their white counterparts, such as protagonists with all heroic attributes. This also helped the audience believe that blacks or African American can be like that of the whites. Such films have done two things: demolished the negative attributes of the blacks or the others as natural, and the others can be like the members of social type as it is cultural and not natural, and therefore stereotyping is not true. Therefore, representation, which is an artificial process, creates negative images about the others in a society where exploitation rules supremely. The representation then can be deployed to fight against all the negativities, particularly the stereotypes. So, students, let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. We have discussed the representation means portrayal of cultural elements to produce and disseminate meaning, right? The second one that we have learned is this is done through language, signs, symbols, habits, etc. among people living in a physical context or a physical location. In the circuit of culture, Stuart Hall, among other elements, spoke about creation of identity. Identity are two types, and these are created by representation. The common type is called social type or dominant type. The other one is a stereotype. The stereotype is created with some broad strokes which are derogatory in nature, always negative in nature. As a result of this, many new studies came up by prominent analysts such as Ferdinand de Saussure, Michel Foucault, Jean Baudrillard, and Roland Barthes. These theorists helped us to understand the layered meaning and implications of a stereotype. The stereotype is created in a historical time and constantly repeated to present it as truth. Again, in the historical time frame, people question the stereotypes. These people from the various social setup question the truthfulness and establish these stereotypes as false. There are two types of strategy of breaking down the stereotype. One is transcoding, that is new slogan which should be opposite of the previous slogan. And the other one is revenge film. Creation of stereotype is found in all society, and the attempts of breaking these stereotypes continuously takes place in all the cultures. Both are through representations. Thank you very much for being with us.